What's going on, guys? So this is going to be a relatively short video, and it's kind of in response to a video of a friend of mine who has a channel called Cruising with the Carsons. So his name is Greg Carson, and he is a contractor, and he builds homes, and he's got a tremendous amount of experience and tribal knowledge when it comes to construction and how things should be done from a residential construction perspective. And a lot of that actually does a really good job lending itself to the RV world as well, because you can spot things that are done well in the construction world and say, well, why aren't they doing the same thing in the RV world? Now, this video is not to negatively talk about Greg. He has a really good opinion on a lot of things. And what I like about Greg is that he's not afraid to speak his mind. He's not afraid to come out and talk to people about things that are troublesome, but do it in a more educated manner because he lives in an industry which very much kind of emulates a lot of what's going on in the RV world. Or I guess it's the other way around. The RV world tries to emulate what goes on in the residential construction world. Now, this video is to kind of a response video to a video he recently published talking about, is Brinkley really better? And I felt this video needed to be made because I think that sometimes there's a perception of residential quality and how it might relate to the RV world. Why don't RV manufacturers use more brands that you typically see in residential construction? And we're going to talk about some of that. Hang tight, I'll be right back. So probably the easiest thing to point out in a Brinkley RV, as well as many other RVs, is the fact that they're using Furrion appliances. And in this specific Brinkley, which is the I-275, and this is the long-term evaluation unit, we have a Furrion refrigerator, we have a Greystone microwave, and it's a convection microwave, and we have a Suburban 3-burner gas cooktop. So a lot of people will come to the speculation that these appliances are going to be terrible because they live in an RV, and RV manufacturers put the worst of everything in. But this is where things get kind of odd and interesting when it comes to appliance brands. So in today's world, it's rare that you are going to find any appliance manufacturer that has really stellar quality reviews. Now, in our Brookstone, which is parked right next door, we have a Samsung refrigerator, we have a Whirlpool residential microwave, and we have a Dometic stove. Now, these brands were all separate brands, so they're not owned by the same company, but what you'll find very quickly is that there are criticisms against every appliance manufacturer out there. And the more you look at residential appliances and brands that you typically see in homes, the more these problems tend to pop up. Like, for instance, Samsung refrigerators. Just look up Samsung French door refrigerator problems, and you will see so many posts of people saying how they're junk. You look up Maytag, look up Whirlpool, look up Frigidaire. All these brands that you actually can find in many RVs have really bad reputations in homes. So when an RV manufacturer picks a brand, what do they go to? In this specific unit, for instance, again, it's not all Furrion stuff. So it's not some, tied in agreement where they're only going to buy Furrion equipment. They have a Furrion fridge, Suburban cooktop, and a Greystone microwave. These are three very distinctively different brands. And again, this just kind of speaks to the fact in many cases, RV manufacturers are looking for products with the fewest number of problems. If this were an Everchill 12-volt refrigerator, so many people would say, well, our Everchill refrigerator is better than they used to be because they were terrible. If this were a Samsung refrigerator, people would say, well, does the Samsung refrigerator still freeze up on the back and are they made terribly? If this was a Maytag, people would say, well, man, Maytag used to be good, now they're terrible. And a lot of times these opinions come from residential homeowners with a residential version of these products. In RVs, you're taking that same product, putting it on a shaker and shaking it, or leaving it inside of an RV that is going to get crazy hot, it's going to get humid, it's probably going to have condensation, it's probably going to have other issues, including bugs and things like that that possibly get into them, but you're definitely increasing the likelihood that appliances are going to undergo a lot more traumatic problems that you typically would never experience in a home. So do I think Furion's a terrible brand because they're owned by Lippert? I don't. I actually don't. I think for the most part, these appliances hold up about the same regardless of what brand you get. You know, there's brands like Hotpoint, which is a lower cost residential brand, and you see them occasionally in RVs, but you know, they have a pretty bad reputation even in homes. I would never want to throw one in an RV, but then again, would it perform any better than any of the brands you traditionally see in RVs? I think a lot of times it comes down to the manufacturer of RVs trying to understand what the warranty claim process looks like on appliances and trying to go with brands that either have the lowest number of actual warranty claims filed or the lowest number of actual issues that have been reported about them. I don't think it really comes down to the brand. I think manufacturers tend to go with brands like Furion because they have more products in different sizes to fit different applications, such as this specific sidewall with this theater-style seating here that needs to have a refrigerator fit next to it. And Furion, as well as maybe a few other brands, have that, whereas a lot of brands don't. So they may have shopped Dometic or Everchill and Furion looking specifically for a 12-volt fridge that fits this spot, and if Furion manufactures it, it's kind of like, okay, let's just go with Furion. And one thing that kind of is interesting, so we recently went on a family vacation to an area right on the coast here called Cinnamon Shores. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful area. The houses there, they're townhomes that people purchase and then they rent out, or they live in them. There are a lot of people living in them as well. And these things go for $800,000 to $2.5 million for these cool looking townhomes that are absolutely beautiful. And the kitchens and everything else you look inside of them look absolutely gorgeous. The cabinetry, all of the countertops. But then I started looking really close at things and I'm like, you know what? They don't dovetail their drawers. On this Brinkley Model I, it's got dovetail drawers. And they did have soft closing cabinets, but when they close, they just literally, I mean, they really hit hard. Whereas this has magnetic latches. The quality of the cabinets in here, the wood itself, was superior to that of a $1.5 million townhouse that we were renting. I'm not even kidding you. And it's absolutely insane to think that in a residential scenario, a very high-end, very expensive, very posh residential scenario, that this Model I travel trailer actually has better construction. And I would even venture to say a lot of other brands of RVs have had better construction because you're starting to see moves to like dovetail drawers, soft closing cabinets, magnetic hold, soft closing drawers, better hardwood materials. You're starting to see that on more premium brands of RVs, and you're not even getting a lot of that in residential construction, which is kind of crazy. Now, if we were building like this super customized home, then I would say, yeah, every little thing we would pick. We'd pick the soft closing everything. We'd pick dovetailed everything. We would pick all of the best, highest-end materials we could. But to think that these $800,000 to $2.5 million pieces of property don't even include those in their builds is kind of crazy when you can get that level of construction or a better level of construction in the RV world. In a lot of brands, from Jayco to Grand Design to Brinkley to Alliance to Coachman even. There are so many brands that are actually offering you better cabinetry in an RV than you're seeing in an actual home, which is crazy. And I would venture to say that if you took some of the appliances that are specifically made for RVs and you put them in a home, they might actually outlast the home appliances. The challenge, though, is taking appliances, putting them inside of a mobile home, driving it down the road, and, you know, expecting a long amount of life out of them, or just sitting inside of a hot storage yard with no power, you know, having to go through all these different climate and temperature shifts from 100+ degrees during the day to cold at night to dry to humid, all of that stuff. That puts wear and tear on so many different things, even on my excavator, even on my tractor. That type of sitting will cause a lot of wear. We recently had a family member come over who's had a Lexus. It was a 2010 LS 460, the best of the best Lexus you could buy in 2010. And the interior looked absolutely insanely weather beaten. And this thing had been sitting in a driveway for 3 years while she traveled around the country. It's absolutely crazy what sitting, doing nothing with no maintenance will do to the interior and the appliances inside of an RV. Anyways, guys, we're going to wrap this video up. I sure hope that it makes sense. I mean, again, this wasn't meant to disparage anything that Greg said in his video. It's just meant to kind of introduce a different thought process when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But I would love your feedback. Please drop a comment below. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.